I'm a fan.
Well, welcome to another edition of Tracking the Wolves. I'm your voice of NSU Athletics, Ben Root. Now, looking back at the week that was in Northern sports, it doesn't get any better than one of those undefeated weekends. The NSU football squad moved their record to 1-1 on the season with a thrilling road win at Concordia St. Paul's Place Saturday, 28-21 the final there, in a back-and-forth game that saw NSU get outgained by almost 200 yards. Wolves made big key plays on defense, none bigger than an 80-yard pick six from Flanders' Joe Parsley. In case that game winner wasn't enough, with about 6.5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, well, he helped knock away what would have been the game winner there, at least tying a touchdown possibly there on the final offensive play of the game for the Golden Bears, as the Wolves took a couple knees after that for the win. NSU ended up forcing 4 turnovers, couple picks, and a couple of fumble recoveries, and Parsley earned the NSIC Defensive Player of the Week. Meanwhile, volleyball team had a nice 7-1 record at the end of their weekend as they went 4-0 with 4 sweeps at the Dakota Bank Volleyball Classic right here at the Barnett Center. NSU broke out the brooms against Southwest Baptist and St. Cloud Friday, finished it off with 2 more straight set wins over Minot State and Minnesota Crookston then on Saturday. Kerry McGarvey took home the tournament's MVP award, and also making that all-tourney team were Tori Bayach, Kelsey Chambers, and Drew Smith. Finally, it was a nail-biter, but the soccer squad also started conference play on the right foot on Sunday. They edged MSU Moorhead 1-0. Wolves had a season-best 23 shots in that victory, 7 of those on goal, and Allie McDonald had a tally on a helper from Anna Bondi in the 85th minute for the only goal of the game, and they picked up that win, moving to 2-2 overall, and of course 1-0 in NSIC play. Stick around. We're going to be right back with this week's interviews on this week's edition of Tracking the Wolves.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Ben Root here, voice of your Northern Wolves, with you once again, and talking a little cross country today, as we're joined by sophomore cross country runner Sasha Hovind with us here on the show. Thanks for coming on, Sasha.
Yeah.
Well, to start things off, you're here from North Dakota, and what should we know about your hometown? It sounds like from what we were talking about earlier, it's pretty small.
Yeah, I guess I have 3 older brothers, and then there's 6 of us, and there's only like 16 people in our town. So we pretty much are the town, kind of. But now that we're gone, I mean, it's just my parents left. But it's pretty small. I went to school in Gwinner, actually, at North Sargent, which is about 8 miles away. So when I started running, it was always kind of cool to run to Gwinner, because that was pretty exciting. But other than that,
So do you... I know I remember hearing like stories about cities going for sale on the web, like one person lived there and they'd sell the town. Well, there wasn't anything like that going on there, right? Or
no.
Okay.
All we have left there is a bar. Pretty
Okay.
typical small town. I don't know.
So how do you kind of get found out of such a small town by, Coach Bierke and staff, or did you kind of search out Northern?
Well, for cross country, we co-op with Lisbon, and they have a much larger team. So by joining with them, I guess I kind of made myself more known. And we also ran the Rogue Ranger meet here in Aberdeen in high school. So
Okay.
that's how I got to kind of know Northern more.
So that's in the southern part of North Dakota then?
Yep.
Best here. Okay. Do you feel in this kind of part of the country it's easier or tougher to run cross country? Because, I mean, there are different aspects, I guess. You know, here we're kind of colder, but then again, got to battle heat if you're like in Arizona. I mean, how do you feel it is here in this part? Is it easier for you?
I love cross country in general. I don't know. The season goes a lot longer here than it did in high school. So a lot of times it was a lot warmer in high school, but now we kind of get a little of both. It's, you know, you get that heat right away, and then towards conference and regions, it's more the cold. But in a way, I feel like when it is a little bit cooler, it's a lot easier for me to run, I guess, opposed to the heat. I don't know. My body just handles that a little bit better.
Is the terrain pretty similar? I mean, is it more or less flat either way up there, here, South Dakota?
Yeah, it's pretty flat. I usually have to drive to find hills like we do here in Aberdeen. So,
talking to Sasha Hovind here on the Tracking the Wolves. What do you use as motivation for your running out there?
A lot of times to motivate myself, I guess. I just think about all the other people that I'm going to be competing against. And sometimes when I am dreading a workout or don't want to get up early to run, I think that those other girls are getting up early, they're putting in the time, and if I want to compete with them, I need to be doing the same thing. So it just keeps me going.
Coach Bierke, what I guess would be something you've learned from him in order to kind of transition in when you're coming into college from the high school level?
I ran a lot more in the summer than I ever did. I typically really just ran like summer races on the weekends, but I actually did summer training, which was very different, but it definitely brought me up to the level I needed to be to compete in college.
Now, this last event you had down in Augustana, it was the Twilight, and you took home Cross Country Runner of the Week honors, so congrats for that on the NSIC award. Did you feel like it was better running at night? I mean, was that part of it, or?
It was definitely a really cool atmosphere, just with the lights on, and there was actually quite a few teams than what we're typically used to. I mean, we see that many at conference and regions, but not at just a normal race. So it was really neat, and there was a lot of wonderful competition, lots of, I think 5 D1 schools, and then a couple D3, but got to run against a lot of the girls I ran against last year, and it was just being under the lights gave it kind of a, I don't know, more of an exciting feel. So
kind of a Hollywood vibe. So
yeah.
Well, speaking of big events, your next one's Roy Griak, and that's pretty big, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you kind of like running in Minneapolis in that area, or?
It's something, I guess. The course is known to be challenging, and last year it poured while we ran, so that was fun. But it's definitely a lot more hilly than a lot of the courses we get here, and a lot of times we just kind of set time goals of my time goal is to run it under 23 minutes this year, and last year was pretty close, but I think I ran 23:34. So it'd be really neat to get under 23 minutes and ultimately to place top 20 amongst all the wonderful competition that's there would be an awesome goal, I guess, to accomplish.
Yeah, with so many. I would think it's kind of tough to kind of gauge yourself when you have so many D1 schools joining in and stuff. It's kind of more difficult maybe to run, wouldn't it be? Or is it easier for you?
At the GRIAC, they do separate for each division.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice because you know the girls you're strictly competing against and they're girls you'll see all season long. So it's kind of neat also because a lot of times we don't get to run a 6K, and it is a set 6K, and to see your time and compare it to other girls in your conference and regions is really helpful.
Cool. Well, as we get to wrap things up with Sasha Hovind with the cross country squad at Northern, always like to ask this to kind of wrap things up, just to find out a little bit more about you. If you're going on, say, a long road trip or maybe stranded on an island, whatever scenario you want to play, what 3 books, movies, or CDs would you put? You can do one of each or whatever you want to kill some time.
Oh my. Well, my favorite book probably is Running with the Buffaloes. It's about a cross-country team, and it talks about the workouts they do, and it's just a really neat book. And movies, I don't know. There's so many good ones. I I would probably bring 13 Going on 30, just because I could watch that movie and over again. And what was the other one?
Or a CD or another book? Or?
Ooh. I have such a wide variety of music. If I could bring my iPod, I'd have it all. But CD-wise, I'd probably bring Ed Sheeran, because he's one of my favorites.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully you don't get stranded on an island, though. You'll be all right.
Yeah, I hope not.
Well, thanks for joining me, and good luck this season.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. That's Sasha Hovind here with the cross-country squad at Northern. We'll be back with more in just a moment on Tracking the Wolves.
We know you want family-friendly sporting events.
Sporting events where you can be comfortable
and entertained in a positive environment. Watching great individuals and teams compete.
With commitment, effort, and good sportsmanship. That's what the Division II Game Environment Initiative is about.
Be a part of the excitement and find out why. These student athletes say with pride,
I chose
Division II.
Welcome back here on Tracking the Wolves. Your voice of the Wolves here, Ben Root, alongside you. And time now to talk some football here as Joe Parsley, sophomore DB out of Flanders, joins us here on this edition of Tracking the Wolves. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Well, looking back at kind of your earlier career before Northern, played high school ball at Flanders with the Flyers, took the school record there in career scoring, also tied in picks, and earned All-State honors both on DB side and QB side. When you got recruited, I always wondered about this because Matt Thorson had the same thing, I guess, DB and QB in high school. How did you feel about getting kind of recruited as a DB and not on the quarterback side? Because that's, what all the flash is, if you will, sometimes.
Well, actually, coming into Northern, they actually asked me if I would rather play quarterback, defensive back, or wide receiver. They gave me the choice, and I chose to play DB. I really like playing on defense. I think that's where I can, have the most influence on the game and use my athleticism the most. So that's just what I chose coming in at Northern. It's been going well ever since. So.
Well, it's not something you hear about everywhere that they give you an option. And
yeah.
It's funny because this year we've had 2 games and we've seen guys that have moved from wide receiver to quarterback and just kind of shown a lot of flexibility. The quarterback there, Concordia St. Paul, making the switch, and of course Hannigan on the team used to be quarterback, now he's receiver. It's all over the place, so it's just kind of funny. Yeah. Now this past weekend too, the day before the Northern game, Ron Kelly shuts out the Flyers. Some of the ex-Cavs on the team let you know about it?
Yeah, me and Chris Malsum always talk about that because I played him back in high school, and I actually have a younger brother who still plays for Flanders. He's in his senior year this year, so they're giving me a little crap about that, but I can take it because I can always talk to him about how when we played back in high school. So.
Yeah, and tell them about the state title, I'm sure.
That's right. I always got to bring that up.
You need a ring for that or something.
Yeah, I got it somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but.
Well, looking at the win in St. Paul Saturday, knocked off the Golden Bears in no small part to your pick 6. During that play, kind of take us through the play and how it developed and what you thought there.
Yeah, that play we were in kind of a cover 1. I was really just a free player. And saw neither of the tight ends went out, so I just kind of dropped in the middle of the field because, the middle of the field is really where QBs like to go. And so I just kind of dropped straight to the middle and just reading the quarterback's eyes, and he kind of overthrew his receiver, and I was right there to grab it. And just as soon as we get the ball on defense, we're looking to score. Headed to the sideline, picked up a lot of blocks, and next thing you know, I was crossing the goal line. So pretty cool play, pretty exciting.
Is that one of those situations where, like you said, it was overthrown and it was pretty much right to you?
Right.
One of those where you're like, oh, I better not drop this.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking that. I was like, oh, geez, here it comes. I didn't think he'd throw it right to me like that. I was kind of expecting to have to break on it or something. But, no, I don't really think don't drop it, because it's just kind of a natural thing, the ball's coming, catch it. So, yeah.
Well, a nice pick 6 there at the late part of the game, about 6.5 minutes left roughly, and at the end of the game, you come up with a nice defensive stop too. What were you looking for there, just knocking it out of bounds?
Well, actually, I get the credit for it, but actually Devin Olson was the one who really, knocked it down. I just got a hand on it. That play, I was watching the quarterback, and he was looking at, one of their top receivers, and he was kind of eyeing him the whole time. And so I kind of dropped over him, and then the quarterback started scrambling, and we were all running around, and I was just kind of watching the quarterback and saw him looking where he was going to throw, and so I started dropping back, and he threw it, and I jumped, and I actually poorly timed it, and I just got my fingertips on it, and then Devin came in and really knocked it down. So I think he should get the credit for that. But.
And he had the other pick in the game,
right.
too, so you guys are both pretty busy back there.
Yeah.
And as we chat with Joe Parsley here with the football team for Northern. And then on that last play, too, we've seen the last couple of years in the NFL how, guys knock it down or they try to catch it and it ends up as being a completion. So they've been kind of teaching that with the coaching staff to just get it out of bounds.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Get it down, get it out of bounds. Don't give the receiver, don't try to catch it either, because then you give the receiver to come in, and with all that dual possession, you saw with like last year with the Seahawks and the Packers. And I was actually watching some film on Augie, and they had a situation like that. Their quarterback threw it up, and Duluth's defensive backs tried to grab it, and it ended up getting tipped into, on like a 3rd or 4th and long or something like that. So yeah, definitely just, work on knocking it down, especially in the game, end of a half, end of the game like that. So.
Well, offense in the game was struggling a little bit. You guys got outgained by, almost a couple hundred yards. Do you notice that on defense? Is that something that kind of makes you realize, hey, we got to pick it up and do something here?
Well, regardless of, how the offense is doing, on defense, we're looking to get our team the best field position as possible, we're looking to score on defense anytime. It's not like we look at how the offense is doing and say, oh, we need to pick up slack, but, yeah, not really. We just kind of focus on what we got to do on defense to win. So
focus on yourselves, and
right.
They can do their thing.
Right.
As far as the road trip, sophomore year, a little more comfortable going on the road, even with the night game that we had over the weekend.
Yeah, went on some road trips last year, and so a lot of those were afternoon games though. But I kind of like the night games, aside from the part of getting back real late. But the night games have definitely a different feel to it under the lights, and and with our crowd there is pretty exciting. So
yeah, standing room only over there.
Yeah. I think we had more fans than CSP had, which was really, really good. We have a great fan base. So.
Well, this week you mentioned Augustana, that overtime loss last week, so I'm sure they're hungry to get back out there. You get them Saturday night. Anybody that you actually know on the Vikings team, like communicate with or anything?
Well, actually, my older brother played for Augie, a wide receiver, and Matt's my roommate's older brother actually. He played for Augie too. Unfortunately, he had an injury this week. I don't really personally know any of them now. I knew a lot of my brother's friends, but some local names that I noticed of guys that I watched play when I was in high school too. So, and anytime you get to play Augie, that in-state rivalries, everyone's looking forward to it. I can tell you that much.
What do you kind of focus on defensively against the Augie team?
They have some really good receivers. I've been watching a little film of them, and they like to throw the ball downfield. Their receivers can make some really nice catches. Pretty athletic. So that's what you got to focus on in the secondary. So. Yeah.
Well, looking forward to that game this weekend on Saturday night at 5 o'clock at ESPN 1420-1071. As we get to wrapping things up with Joe Parsley, I noticed you're a math major. What made you interested in that? I'm a math guy myself.
Just in high school, just really interested in math classes, and was interested in going, and doing the teaching thing after school. I'm hoping to teach here in South Dakota, and so just kind of took that, and have been enjoying the math classes here at Northern. We got a good math department, so it's been going well.
A lot of incentives now too in South Dakota as far as the whole science field too.
So. Yeah.
Does speaking of math, the number 42 mean anything to you? No. Hitchhiker's Guide. Sorry, I don't know. It's a number. I figured I'd throw that out there. And to wrap things up, 3 books, CDs, or movies that you would take on a lengthy road trip or stranded island type of situation.
For movies, I'd have to go with the Star Wars saga. Me and my dad always watched Star Wars growing up. And book, I'd have to go with Quiet Strength by Tony Dungy. And I'd have to bring a deck of cards along too. I love playing cards. So.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try and. I had some with me, and somebody wanted to borrow them, but they were in my bag under the bus, so that didn't work out. Well, thanks for joining us, Joe. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
There's Joe Parsley, sophomore DB for your Northern Wolves football team. Back with more Tracking the Wolves coming up next.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Well, welcome back to Tracking the Wolves, and it's time now to look at the Northern schedule for the week ahead when it comes to the sports activities. The Wolves volleyball team is going to get thrown right into the fire this weekend. They've got their first road match of the NSIC season, and, well, just a 7-time national defending champion team this Friday as they visit Concordia St. Paul Friday night. They'll follow that up with a visit to Mankato on Saturday afternoon. Football squad is going to get pumped for that in-state rivalry, of course, that is Wolves against Vikings. Kickoff against Augustana slated for 5 o'clock, not 6 like the other night games, 5 o'clock. Remember that this Saturday at Swisher Field. And if you can't make the game, of course, tune in for the call with yours truly. It's this Saturday, 5 o'clock at ESPN 1420 1071 and ESPNaberdeen.com. And the soccer team, well, they get to play 2 more conference home games this weekend. A lot of games at Jurdy Field early on the season for them. They draw St. Cloud Saturday afternoon, and they wrap up the weekend Sunday when UMD comes to the Hub City. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Tracking the Wolves. I'm, of course, Ben Root, your voice of the Northern Wolves. Hope you'll join us again next week for another edition on this Tracking the Wolves for your updates of those NSU sports squads. And as always, don't forget, go Wolves.